The human factor of things. This is the title of our next panel discussion. And so far we have talked about AI and innovation and transformation on an individual level, on a society level, and now we look at the business side. And I have the pleasure of inviting two innovation experts with us on stage. Jan Kaak, who is the innovation lead at Spar, and Stefan Kreppel, who is the head of open innovation at PALFINGER. Please join me in welcoming them to the stage. You're right in the middle, Stefan.
Great.
All right, welcome to Salz 21. You both represent different industries, and I just wanted to understand what exactly is your role within your organization. Stefan, starting with you at PALFINGER, what do you do?
So what do we do? So the innovation is a broad topic, from what is the next generation of a crane, and maybe what's the future of the industry, and also the future of our customers. And on the one hand side, we have the people that are taking really care of to develop our products further, to make them as best as possible for the customers and also in the future. And with us in the incubator or accelerator, we are more focusing on what's coming after the cranes. How do the customer needs change, and how do the industries we are serving into or we're delivering our products into, where our products are used, changing, and what does it mean for our lifting solutions or the solutions we have to provide there to be still relevant? And this is the question we are focusing on.
To remain relevant.
Yes, and not within the next 2 years, but ongoing
Beyond.
for the next 5 to 10 years.
Understood. Thank you. Eric, what about you at Spar? What is your role?
My role is I'm working at the digital unit of the Spar organization, so it's all about food and retail. My job there is, as an innovation lead, I'm scanning for new solutions, what customers, final end customers in the stores want or like, and how we can use also technology, of course, for the best benefit of our customers.
Since both of your job titles include the word innovation, maybe let's start out by defining that. What is innovation for you, especially in the context of your work? Stefan or Eric, do you want to go first?
For me, it's very simple. Innovation is when the customer says, wow.
When the customer says, wow. Okay.
Yes, and not only getting the wow effect, but coming up with solutions the customer hadn't in mind, but solving the problems they have or the needs they have better than the existing things.
Now, a very provocative follow-up question from my side. I know many departments are building up the innovation programs, the innovation departments, innovations heads. Why do we need innovation departments or people responsible for innovation in organizations now? Because businesses have survived so far without as well as it seems, and they have launched new products, they have understood the needs of the customer, but why is it necessary to have a dedicated team now?
So I think that the first topic there is, I think innovation is relevant on all levels of product development to bring the things further. But I think that the main topics that changed maybe over time is that the circumstances, the surrounding is getting more and more complex, and the changes are coming faster and faster. That it's not only that you can do it as a side job beside your development, your engineering topics, so that there is somebody who really only looks out there and thinks new things coming, or how to react on them and make them more visible in there. I think that's the main thing to deal with. Why it's maybe important to have, in addition to classic innovation development departments, also dedicated innovation teams.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Eric?
We have now technologies to our disposal that a student sitting in Mexico City can roll out new products and services within minutes and for the whole world. So if you own a 3D printer, you can even make physical products nowadays and market and distribute them globally in real time. These are some of the things you couldn't do this 25, 30, 40 years ago. This is why big industries like us and also like PALFINGER came around, because they understood economy of scale. And with the digital products we have, digital possibilities we have now at our disposal, everybody in the world is your future competitor. Mm-hmm. And this is why you need to be very fast in learning. And innovation is not about new products and new technology and all this kind of stuff. This is also important, but you need to have sustainable innovation. If we have the mega super app for retail and everybody's going and downloading our app, 2 weeks later, 5 students in China copy it and do it themselves, right? So if you need to look for sustainable innovation. Sustainable innovation doesn't come from products or technology. Sustainable innovation comes from innovation on your business models, and it comes especially innovation within your own organization. How you do management of product development, how you do management of innovation. So the innovation of management itself will be the sustainable advantage you have. And this is where, like Stefan says, you need to try things out, learn, set up hypotheses, do experiments, a lot of them, and then build exactly this culture of learning. And this is why you can survive. If you don't do innovation, you die.
We're going to touch upon this, the importance of also the human factor in innovation a bit. But before, I just wanted to understand, who of you works in an organization that does have a dedicated innovation team, department, or lead, if I can ask? Okay. Does any one of you work in innovation? So you yourself in innovation? 2, 3. Okay, thank you. So at PALFINGER, you set up, Stefan, an accelerator. Can you tell us a bit more how it works and what was the reasoning behind going down that route? Because there are different innovation programs that a corporation can launch.
I think what we realized is, and as I said, we split it up in a way, the 2 approaches of innovation. On the one side, each product line, each development team there, and also the technical expert there, they're dealing with technology all the time. So they are really trying to making their things, their technologies, the products, day by day better. But when it comes into disruptions or really big changes out there, it's not always the case that when you're in a day-to-day business, it's so easy then to think outside of the box. And that was the reason, as you said, digitalization is driving the whole industry and the whole innovation. So we set it up that especially we wanted to focus on new business models, new digital business models, digital-driven innovations, and beside then build it on that new manufacturing like additive manufacturing or other technology like virtual reality, augmented reality, or sensoric AI, you name it. And these are all things that are built up that are maybe not that relevant in a day-to-day product development, but relevant for the future. And that's our approach. So we have 3 main goals as P21st in that organization. On the one side, to come up with ideas out of the box that maybe have a relevance 5 or 10 years down the road. On the other side, also build up competences and grow them that they're feasible and acceptable for the organization then within our team, so that we came up with IT and data science topics, customer-centric topics, to really drive these innovation drivers, to build a base there then where the organization can interlink to. And in the third topic, also the culture, because we have 12,000 people out there. They are connected with our customers, connected with the people, connected with the industry they are working in and they're selling our products into. These are all contact points to potential innovators, innovation, so on and so forth. So it's also a culture change there to make them also ambassadors for innovations, that they have a point to connect to say, okay, we found something there. Does it make sense or does it have an impact? And these are the topics we are dealing with. And on the side, we're coming up with new competencies, new products, and also new companies and new ventures. And that's more or less the main goal there.
You mentioned this customer-centric innovation approach. Cranes or like lifting solutions, that's a very defined space. How far are you willing to go outside that, because you have certain competences in your company that can be applied, I guess, in various fields. And have you thought about, if a customer says, we want to go down that route or we need that, how far outside of your current comfort zone as a company are you willing to go? Has this question come up?
Yes and no, because the point is lifting is almost everywhere. Mm-hmm. So to lift something will stay and is here for centuries age. Well, yes, so it will stay, and then it's always the question, how can you lift then, or does it has to be really lifted? For example, we founded a joint venture at the beginning of 2019 where we find a totally digital solution for a problem where right now aerial work platforms were used, where engineers were brought down bridges or below bridges to inspect there and to see if they're still working well or if there are frictions, cracks you have to deal with. And we came up then with a total digital AI-driven solution. So we find a digital solution for an analog solution we have right now. So we built it up and founded that company because we said, okay, that could be a solution of the future. And that is something where we tried to bring it pretty broad. So it's not only that we want to stick to the next physical product. So really focusing, as you said, innovation is in the cases of business model, especially when you look in sustainable topics, it's how the businesses are dealing, the shared economy. Is it lifting then as a service at the end? Because then we sell totally something different. We don't sell the end equipment anymore. We sell a lifting of a good. And that's totally different than how your company has to behave, what your value chains, so on and so forth. So these are the things then we have to think about.
I think you need to go down to the core.
Yeah.
I mean, your biggest enemy at PALFINGER is gravity, right? You cannot defy gravity. You cannot say, I don't care about gravity, right? Our biggest challenge is people need food, people need their things they need to buy for their homes to cook in the evening. They need to eat and drink, right? This is the basic need from our customers. And I think we need to go from there and start from there again, right? So your challenge is moving things. That's your challenge, right? Our challenge is feeding people, right, in some way, right? And giving basic supply and basic needs.
And it's not only moving things, but is it, first of all, the question is it necessary that this thing get moved or not? This is the first question, because moving is already a first answer to that.
And it's very interesting because you work primarily in the B2B sector, you're in the B2B sector, yet both of their companies, B2C, yes, B2C focus on a need that's going to be there forever, because we humans might get a bit taller but not much stronger, so we can't lift something that's very heavy, and then we always have to eat because otherwise, yeah, we're not going to survive. So that's very interesting. Eric, can you tell us a bit more how you then approach innovation at Spar?
We don't have a specialist unit as you have. We are doing some work in our area, in my area, in my department, if you want to call it like this, within the Spar ICS. But we include a lot of people from the business side as well. So we founded this digital innovation forum where we just meet with people from the business side of things, people from the digital side of things, and we just define with each other what are the challenges from business and what can we do there. So we didn't create our own unit or something like this, which doesn't mean we will not do it in future, but at this moment we don't do it because the way we do it right now, it gets some traction also within the whole corporate area, but we're not there yet, and there's no need at this moment to have a specialized digital unit, a specialized innovation unit for that.
Do you also work with startups, or is this in the pipeline?
Of course, on the business side, they work a lot with startups. So there are new, like the new energy bar, and there's this small company that invented something or doing something with bio nutrition, etc. So you see them in the stores all the time.
Yeah.
So we give them space, we give them a possibility to scale within the Spar and within the Spar group itself. Same thing at the harvest side for sports. So sports equipment, there are startups there that have good ideas, and we give them space in the stores. That's one side. The second thing we do is I have a lot of contact with startups themselves that have good ideas, how we can monetize better on data and these kind of things, and we're working very closely together with some of them on that side as well. Right, but we're still in a very much exploring phase, because we are broadening our vision. What can we do, especially with new technologies in this whole field of digital, beyond the core things we're doing anyhow, and we do a lot of exploration there. So it's all about learning.
I think you made a good point, and I think it's not important how the structure and in detail looks like, how to incorporate an innovation department or a team or people. I think it's much more about the mindset and the framework that you give these kind of people, and because of also the name of the panel of the human factor within there. I think it's a little bit of a different mindset. We maybe have how to look at things, to be curious, to rather ask for forgiveness than for permission maybe, and so on and so forth, to drive things further. And I think it's much more important to have this area or this place where this can happen. And how it's then defined or how it's then spread over it's a cultural topic. What does better fit to the structure of the company? But it's much more important to give these people an environment where they can start to explore, to learn, and to try things out.
As I started there 2 years ago with this innovation adventure at Spar, I did a quick assessment what larger companies, family-owned, with a lot of tradition, how they are assessing this whole area of innovation. Like, do they have their new departments? Is this an old company, etc.? How do they do it? So I had a lot of talks and discussions with companies in the German-speaking world. And what you saw is you have, like, you look at 10 different companies, you have 10 different solutions how they do it. But there are 4 core similarities. The first one is you need to have support from the top, right? You need to have support on board level, on C level, that somebody says, I own this and I support this. So this is the first thing. The second thing you need to have at least some kind of governance around it. How do you take decisions? How do you move on? What is the strategy behind it? These kind of things. So you need some kind of governance. The third thing you need to have a knowledge and skills on methods and tools. So it could be this whole area of design thinking. It could be that you know about experiment, about validation. You need to have knowledge about how to build business models, how to scale business models. And there are tons and tons of methods and tools and books out there. And you need to have people with those skills that can train, that can do workshops and these kind of things. And the fourth thing you need, as what you mentioned, is you need a culture of learning in your company. So you need support from the top. You need to have strategy, of course. You need to have governance around the tools and methods and culture. And this is basically what I saw in all these kind of companies. And how you organize around it depends on the context, what your company and how you want to do it.
So since the conversation is now shifting from customers more internally to employees and management, because changing a culture is not easy, right? Especially both of you are working in very traditional markets that have also been around for a very long time. What have you learned so far, and maybe also what has been your biggest pitfalls that you had to overcome and hurdles when it comes to culture change, because that doesn't go from one day to the other?
I think it's a question it shouldn't feel like a cultural change in the first hand. And in the second hand, it's a lot of respect, because I came to PALFINGER 4.5 years ago. PALFINGER has a tradition of right now more than 90 years. And when you look at our balance sheets, the company development, they did a lot of things really great and right, because otherwise we wouldn't be there where we are here. So when you come in and say, okay, now I tell you how it's going better, it won't work, because they are earning the money you are allowed to spend to try things out. So it's a lot of respect, relationship, and on an eye level. So it's not that I'm better than the others or the others better than me. So it's together make something new. And I think this respectful relationship, and to say, okay, how can I help you in your day-to-day job? And maybe what kind of insights, learnings you had already, can you give to me then on the other side to exchange, and I think, and to learn and to bring things further. So it's a lot of respect, and it's not of somebody's better or weaker or stronger or whatever. It's more about valuing the heritage where it's coming from, because there's a lot of innovation in there and a lot of trust, and you have to earn that and trust that you're allowed to do these things, and let them do, and they let them do you, and then they support you. And I think it's a lot of relationship, trust, and exchange to bring these things further. And the only thing is, and I think that's the biggest difference between a startup and maybe a larger company, is things take time. So if you want to change something within a month, it won't work. So you give also the structures to be changed. And it's always this picture of the super tank and the speedboat. It's not that way, because they have different levels of of their areas, of their work. So it's not easy to communicate between these levels. So you have to come up with a good communication structure to interact between these layers. And maybe there's two different boat sizes in between that transfer the steps up, and that takes time. But it's relevant to make it sustainable, because otherwise you try something else, you fail maybe, out of different reasons maybe, and you say, okay, it won't work, let's skip it. So it's also to convince and to be persistent on the one side, but on the other side respectful, and to give them also the time to accept.
So what I'm hearing is humility, resilience as well, and just knowing that you have to earn your stripes, so that you're taking also, I guess, serious, because innovation is always at this day and age the new guy on the block, so to say. What about you, Eric? What have you encountered in your 2 years so far in this organization, or also in your prior experiences? What have been really obstacles that you had to overcome?
Well, there are some former colleagues from former companies
So
that I just met today again, but. And also there, and it's exactly what you said, there's a lot of companies that have a great tradition. I worked a long time at the Technica Group, which is an Italian sports equipment company. The owner of that company, he founded the moon boots, right? So in 1970, he saw this picture of Neil Armstrong on the moon, and he got this idea of the moon boots.
Okay.
So that was his personal invention, right? This is where this company comes from. So, and he was a shoemaker in Cortina d'Ampezzo, right? So he comes from there. And there's a lot of tradition there. And also within the company Spar, there's a lot of tradition there. And what you said, you need to respect this tradition. And secondly, you mentioned culture. Culture is the collective set of behaviors that the company is willing to tolerate. Or otherwise said, the culture is the worst behavior your company is willing to tolerate, right? That's your culture, right? And culture is all about behavior. And of course you can do all those shiny things around, and we build those startup centers, and we put those football tables in there, and we give everybody free whatever Red Bull. Yes, do it, forget it, doesn't matter, right? It's about consistent working on behavior of people. And to change behavior of people, you need to change the context. Because the behavior set is a setup between your personality and the context. I cannot change your personality, but I can start to change context. And you need to do it step by step, very slowly, but consistently. And after 2 or 3 years, people start to realize, hey, this is another company as we've been here 2 or 3 years ago. And then I always ask, and did it hurt? No, it didn't, right? It just, if change is hard, make it continuous. Make continuous small steps. Almost everything I do within our company and changing also processes and these kind of things are experiments for me. People don't even know I'm conducting experiments with them. And I just look how they behave and how they react on it. And if I see it works, we just strengthen it and we move on. If I see it didn't work, well, they're not ripe for it yet at this moment. It will come, but we do it another time, right? And you need to have this consistent small steps. And this is how you also change in culture. You cannot change culture by doing this great talk and this town hall. Now we change the culture of a company. It won't work.
It's small steps, yeah. Definitely.
And I think it's the point is, when you start with a change process, you have so much energy against that process already, that the energy you have to invest is getting much higher.
It's like the Fight Club. You know, the first rule of the Fight Club, don't mention the Fight Club, right?
So don't mention change.
First rule of change, don't mention change.
One thing I think that's also something that's part of, the innovation culture, innovation department is, of course, the road is kind of like unknown. I mean, you know your mission, but how you get there is something that there's a lot of trial and error involved. Have you encountered in your company so far where you had to also justify that something that you wanted to launch or launched failed, because was there this perception that, yes, this is now a big mistake that you made, or is there an understanding already, all right, so then now we failed, we'll try again? This failing culture.
Yes, but don't see it as failure, see it as learning.
But that's
right?
easy said than done, because if it's a traditional company, how can is it already in your current organization that's like a common thing, even when you arrive, that yes, if you maybe make a mistake, that's a lesson learned?
This is why you do the small steps. If I make a mistake and it will cost the company 10 million euros, there will be consequences, always, at some point, right? Nobody will come, okay, bad luck, you just lost 10 million. Well, who cares? No, it isn't, right? Try to do those small steps and try to go to the edge, right? Don't do the big steps first, right? Choose your battles wisely in the beginning, right? Create a team of people that you trust, that you see, well, they have the same kind of mindset, they want to go that direction as well, coach them, and then you do those small steps. But still, I mean, losing 10 million euros is still a big mistake, but don't do it again, right?
And I think it's also the question, failure, it depends also on which department you accept failure or not, because when we came up with a crane and that is delivered out, it could be life-endangering and life-threatening when there has an incident. So there, the tolerance of mistakes is pretty low, based on structures, based on regulatories, based on procedures. So it also depends in which parts of the company you can have a more learning or more failure culture. And then, as you said, it's not the case that normally larger companies are coming with the structure. Now I have a 5 years project for 10 million, and then you get the budget for the whole for the whole project, and then we go. That's not how innovation is done. Innovation is done step by step, and you to try to get more meat on the bone, to have more knowledge, to reduce the uncertainty, and parallel to reduction in the uncertainty, the cost should increase. So that the uncertainty is in a way correlated with the costs you have for that. And I think that's the fundamental approach, how you deal with innovation, that when it hurts, it doesn't hurt too much. And the real question, as you said, it's not, nobody wants to fail. No startup wants to fail. So this failure culture is a wrong phrasing in my, it's about learning, because nobody wants to fail. No, I know no startup founder who started a startup to say he wants to fail. They all want to succeed, but they accept a little bit more risk, and they're more willing to deal with uncertainties and to be more flexible and to be more, to be flexible, to adjustable to the circumstances and to changes. But it's really that case of you have to learn, and you have to explain why you're sure that you won't do that mistakes a second time.
I'm totally with you. This whole celebrate failure thing, yes, cool, I don't care, right? It's about celebrate learning, right? And the only thing our owners want, right, they want to reduce risk. They constantly try to reduce risk. They don't want to earn a lot of money, because that comes later, right? They want to reduce the risk that we do something that doesn't matter, right? And the quicker you learn, the less money you spend doing that, the better it is. So what we're constantly doing is risk management. And risk management is project management for adults, right? And this is what we do constantly. And if you show people that I'd rather spend 50,000 euros to understand that it doesn't work as spending 5 million on a project and find out on the market that it didn't work. So I spent 50,000 euros for learning instead of 5 million euros and then celebrate failure? No.
Yeah. Before we take questions from the audience, you both defined in the beginning what innovation is and what your role is. Is there also internally other indicators? How do you measure the outcome of your work, or is in your department this totally off limit, that there is no talk about how do we actually measure the success, the impact of your company? How do you approach that topic? Can we even measure innovation?
I think innovation is tricky to measure, because when you nail it down, what's then the number you want to deal with? Is it the number of ideas you tried out, ideas you scouted, ventures you invested in? When you start to nail it down by numbers, it's more about what you learned, what you spent for the learning, and maybe what will know better, and maybe clear a little bit of the fog of the future on the one side. And the only measure that I think that works is, it's a long-time measure. Do you come up with things that really pay off in the future? But that's more or less a long-term KPI structure in that case of.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Okay.
You can measure it. Of course, you can measure it all along the way, right? In the beginning, you can do measurements around. What you need to do is validation. You need to do structured validation. And in the beginning, all the experiments you do, you don't have hard numbers for it, so you have more of a qualitative validation. But the more you come towards the market, the more you need to do quantitative validation. And there's a huge amount of tool sets in doing that and experiments to do that. And you can measure that, and we are using scorecards for it, right? And the scorecards says no more than, okay, we now know a little bit more, or no, we don't know it, and we need to pivot, or we need to discard it, or we need to do something again. And then you can measure it. You can measure the amount of experiments you did. You can measure the amount of costs we accumulated doing these experiments. We can measure the over time what we think that could be market impact and these kind of things. And you just need to make it visible. We have scoreboards for that, and then you need to take decisions on it. It doesn't give you 100% security or the certainty, but you see the trend, you see where you're moving. And these things you can measure. I'm a big fan of measuring things.
Yeah.
So we do the same, but I think classical KPIs, normally, that was the point I wanted to mention. Classic KPIs don't work, but you still have to do your homework, and you still have to be confident what you spent your budget for and why you can argument that made sense or made no sense. Absolutely, we are working with scorecards as well. And you far down the road, the more the normal classic KPIs kick in, but at the beginning, it's more hindering than bringing further.
Things like ROIs calculation that controlling department demands, forget it. What you can do is you can school and train your controlling department with these methods of innovation controlling and how to think about it. And then they get a better understanding, right? And then you have a partner in crime there as well. And this is what you need to have. You need to rally the troops around it. And this includes also your financial people.
Interesting. Are there any questions from the audience or any comments, any experiences that you had working in the innovation department maybe that you wish to share? If not, I'll continue with my... Oh, we do. Yes, please.
We don't see you because we have all those...
in the second row, Larissa. Thank you.
Thank you for your thoughts and ideas. I was wondering what's relevant for innovation, and one base of it is creativity. But what's important for enabling creativity in workplaces? And you mentioned trust, respect, learning culture itself, but isn't it also autonomy? Being able to work self-determined?
Yes, there are three things. If you read the book from Daniel Pink, Drive, Daniel Pink says it's autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So if you're building things, strive for autonomy in teams, which doesn't mean independency, right? Autonomy means we still have this vision, this direction, but it's up to you how to organize yourself around it and how to come there. So it's mastery about learning, learning new skills and these kind of things, and it's about purpose, having this strong vision. And if you build your organization around autonomy, mastery, and purpose, then you will get there.
And I think it's also about the mindset of the people you have. And I think that's also in the innovation departments a little bit different to classical core organizational structures in that case of, because you have to try to, you want to try things out, and you have to start going away. You don't know the way right now, because the way is developing by walking. And that is a totally different personal behavior and attitude you need for that. And both, it's not good or bad, but it's a different approach you need in these two environments. Like engineering to building something where you directly know where it's heading into, and exploring something totally new.
You mentioned creativity, and thanks for the word mindset. I hate the word mindset, right? Because it's again, change. I want to change people. They need to change their mindset. No, you cannot change your mindset, right? The mindset is determined by the context where you're working in. So try changing the context. You will have a change of behavior, right? And when you create this environment where creativity can come around, where you also say, well, at this moment, we are not in the execution phase yet. We are still in the finding phase. Then you have this other mindset, right? How you
name it
come
attitude.
along. Right? Attitude, yeah. What is your favorite color?
My favorite color? It depends. Sometimes blue, sometimes red or yellow.
Right. So you can change at the moment you say now it's blue and then it's yellow. This is a change of mindset. So what does it take to change this mindset? Nothing, right? You just need to do it. Think differently, you change your mindset, right? So we should stop trying to change people's behavior, change the context, and people will will start to behave differently, right? Don't mess around with people.
We talked about two groups of people, customers and employees. I want to bring in two more, and those is management or the top level, and then as well as specific employees or customers as well. But from a management side, how is your relationship or also your reporting to management? What is their role in your day-to-day work as well? Because we mentioned autonomy as well, which is important, and of course this is being issued by then the top level. So how do you communicate, collaborate with the top in your day-to-day work? What's their role?
More or less on a day-to-day basis, and it's all based on trust. Right? It's I have a long history of working in different industries. I don't need to prove myself to him if I know what I'm talking about, right? And I trust him and also the management itself that they are doing the best job in bringing this company forward. And if you have this on the same eye level way of communication with your management, then I don't see any problems. But you need is just mutual trust. I trust you, you trust me, that's it.
And I guess behind the trust is then consistent communication as well, right? Which is one of the core pillars of trust.
Right. Yeah. Don't betray trust, right? Yeah. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't make things better as they maybe are, etc. Just be open, be transparent, go there. And this is how you create trust. And then, of course, at the end of the day, we're not in the... we're in a business, still in the business of making money. We have a 90,000 people company behind it, right? It's not about playing and doing nice things, right? It's at the end of the day also for the benefit of the whole company, right? And but don't betray that trust. Be transparent. Be open.
What about you, Stefan? What is the role of management in your day-to-day work?
I only totally agree. I think it's real trust and an ongoing communication. For sure, you have the classic documentation. You have your scorecards. So this has to be also this also builds trust, because that is something they can rely to when they are not that experienced in innovation, or what that uncertainty means. But it's a point of trust that I trust them, that they give me the freedom or the autonomy in that case to try things out, and on the other side the trust that I'm not doing risky things only because it's fun, because there's always a purpose driven that I want to make the solutions, the company, the service we can provide for the society, for our customers better, and to drive that further. And I think if we can agree on that, it's perfect.
So one big challenge in a lot of industries in Austria right now is the shortage of labor, of qualified employees. Every time I go to a supermarket and the register, I see an ad that they're hiring people. How much of your innovation is also driven by the fact that the employment market changes? What's the relevance of that?
That's a tricky one, because of course a lot of the things we talk about, like AI and automation, etc., is about filling up these capacity gaps we have for people, right? And it's a small balance we have, because the totally autonomous store where you don't have people you can talk to, there are scenarios where I think, yes, it could be done there, but that's not the scenario we want to go in there. I just made this example today in the in Holland a few weeks ago at the second largest retail store. They opened a cashier lane, which they called the chat lane, right? where elderly people that go to the store because they want to talk to people, right? They have the possibility to talk to the cashier, and it's okay that you spend 5 minutes just chatting. So they have this chat lane there, right? You talk to real people. And at the end of the day, people want to communicate with real people. So yes, a lot of innovation we are thinking about is about automating things in the stores, so we have more people on the floor that can communicate with customers. That's one thing. Other thing on self-checkouts, etc., etc. These are things everybody's experimenting this with at the moment. Also there are good solutions, bad solutions, absolutely horrible solutions. They're all there. We're all experimenting with it, and that's a thin line we're working there. But I agree this turnover of people and a shortage of labor is a big issue at this moment in our company as well.
What about your industry? Thank you, Eric. Stefan, because of course, you know, the companies to deliver then the cranes to, do they also face a shortage?
Yes, so we have for sure the shortage as well, especially then at the end of our customer journey, then by the users and the operators, because we need a person that is able to drive a truck and to steer a crane. So, and on the other side, our products getting complex and more complex with the functionalities, the features they have. So on the other side, we try to make them then in the steering structure as simple as possible, make it as easy as possible that people can get trained on that. So these are things we drive them further. But the question is always, and I had an interesting discussion, for example, when you look at the construction industry. It's the things are there built and the procedures are built that the people and human people are there in there, part of these processes. And if you want to change that, you have to change whole industries and whole procedures in that case. And in some industries, it will maybe work better because it's more easy to autonomize them and to give people more freedom and to focus more on their topics. For example, prior there a discussion about AI and programming, and does the programming language will vanish because AI is now coding? Not really, because you need also the experts still that know how to ask the answers and the questions and the phrases, what then the AI should do as a code. So it's maybe easier to transfer, but the expertise to understand the problem, to facilitate and to bring it further is still existing. So maybe the work the people is doing is changing, but it's getting more complex even, and on the other side, more passionating, because then you can maybe have more interaction with the people. Because if the cashier is doing a lot of things autonomously, you can really have the time to spend to talk to people. If the crane is easy handleable, maybe much more people can then steer the crane and have maybe great feelings to say, okay, I steered today a 200-ton crane because it was so easy. So it's not only getting the people out of the equation, it's more bringing them to the points where they can really add their value and make it really emotional and a good feeling for them.
Thank you. I think that's a perfect ending for our talk, especially since the title is The Human Factor of Things. Thank you so much for giving us an insight into your innovation work, and I wish you all the best. And thanks, Eric and Stefan, for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And at 12:30, we're gonna hear from 1:30. We're gonna hear from KTM Innovation on how they are using AI in their innovation journey.